I can assure you that when people say it's boring, bro, like, where was it boring? Hi! Today, we're going to be talking about why Elantris and Warbreaker are such good Brandon Sanderson books. Currently, they are both standalones, so I'm going to treat them as such. I'm going to start with Elantris. Elantris, man, a lot of people don't really like it. And I get why. It is his first work and people kind of feel, maybe psychologically they feel like, oh, it's the first work, it's probably the worst. So with Brandon Sanderson, I can tell you one thing. He has this thing with his storytelling that I like to call the Brandon Sanderson essence. And in this book, I feel like it's at its most pure. It's so pure. It's so Brandon Sanderson. It's painful. I love this book because it just feels like I'm reading and I'm getting into this man's mind, dude. It's amazing. The way he writes plot, the way he writes characters, it's so easy to fall into it. Like, I can understand why people say it's a bit boring, this first book. I totally get it, but I don't think I was ever really bored. I think I can credit that to how he writes his plot, because it's never just like, oh look, we're making a slow ascension to a climax. Climax! We're done with the story now. It never feels like that. I feel like we have these miniature climaxes that just get higher and higher as the stakes get higher and higher. And then when you get to the end, you're just so full. You are just like, wow. I don't know how he does it, but he does it and he gives it and he's just giving it. And it's like, thank you for writing this beauty of a book. Thank you so much. And I think that element of his writing really just, it's in here. It's buried in this book. That's what makes Elantris such a good book for me. And not just the plot, but as well as the characters. They're just so, I don't know, they're so solid. Each character I feel like is so like, it's a person, man. It's not just something for a plot point. It's not just a character who's here for now. No, each of these characters have thoughts and feelings intrinsic to them and how they were raised and who they are. And they're just so solid. They're people, man. They're people. That's what I love the most about this book. It's just how real the world feels. Not in the sense that I can see myself in it, like, haha, I could see this happening in real life. No, not like that. I feel like it's so real because he makes it real. You know what I mean? Like, he makes this reality in this book and everything feels so tangible. I think that's because of how he implements like religion into his stories, not in a sickly, annoying way, but in a very beautiful and well thought manner, as well as how he makes the norms and the social systems in the stories, especially in this one, it just feels so tangible and real. And the way he gets you into the story without forcing you in, you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of find yourself. You find yourself in a Brandon Sanderson novel. What makes Brandon Sanderson together makes Brandonson. Honestly, it should be an actual dictionary term. The way he tells stories, it just feels like you've entered a fairy tale in the best way. Not entering a fairy tale in the sense that it's all happy-go-lucky. No, you're entering a fairy tale in the sense that you feel that nostalgic feeling of being told a story. Like, you know, when you're told a story when you're a kid, if you weren't a reader growing up, like me, what I can compare this to also is like, you know that one movie that you loved as a kid? For me, that was Aladdin. Every time I watched that movie, I felt like I was being transported to Agrabah. I loved that story so much. The characters were just too much for my little young heart. It was too much. And that feeling, that nostalgic feeling of storytelling is exactly how I feel when I read Brandon Sanderson's Elantris. I just feel like I'm falling into it effortlessly. I can't begin to explain his writing, but I can tell you that in this book, it's at its purest. It's so like contained to this like one place in the story, but it feels so big. I really believe that that essence of his writing transcends into his other books, including Warbreaker, which I'm going to talk about right now. My child, my baby, my wonderful Warbreaker. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. It just I really like this book. I don't know if you can tell. This book is one of my favorite books of all time. I love this book so much. And why I love this book relates back to Elantris. But I read Warbreaker first. Then I read Elantris after I read a couple, like 5 other Brandon Sanderson books. Then I read Elantris. And honestly, that works for me. Not because Elantris isn't good. Once again, I'm going to say this because it really isn't a bad It's not a bad story. It's so good. Like, it's I'm shocked when people say they don't like it. So why Warbreaker really works for me, and after reading Elantris, why I loved it even more, was because I really saw that element in Brandon Sanderson's writing, that, say it with me, that Brandon Sanderson essence, that Brandon Sanderson juice, that pure juice, it's in here. And that's what makes this book so amazing. But I won't lie, I do love this book, maybe a tad more than I love Elantris. And I think it's because when it comes to Elantris, let me grab it. When it comes to Elantris, it's like getting raw materials. Like we are mining for gold, we are mining for diamonds. And this is like that diamond fresh out of the soil, that piece of gold fresh out of the soil. That's what Elantris is. Then when it comes to Warbreaker, it's like after we've cut the diamond, we've washed the diamond, and the diamond is now able to be put on a ring, on a necklace, on earrings. Like, that's what this book is. Or I think all the other books in his writing. Ooh, like Way of Kings. But we're not going to talk about that right now. I really feel like that's the difference between this book and this one. It's just raw material, refined, and ready to put on a necklace material. That's what these are. That's what it is. I think that's the best way for me to explain these two books, because it's still the same essence of Brandon Sanderson, the same juice, the same writing, but it's just done in a way that's different from here versus here, and that's okay. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say about these books. I love them dearly. I really, really love these stories, and what I want to give as a little piece of advice is to read Warbreaker first, then read Elantris after. How long after, or how many other books of the Cosmere you read after, I don't really care, but I really suggest reading Warbreaker first, then Elantris. I think it'll work. If it doesn't, it's fine. If you want to read Elantris first, that's totally fine, but I do suggest having an open mind. And if you've already read the books, I suggest looking through both books, or like looking through Elantris actually, and then looking at the other Brandon Sanderson books, specifically this one, if you will, and you'll see what I'm talking about when it comes to his essence and just the way he writes things that is so similar in these two books. I feel like these two books have something very similar about them, but it's just done differently. Like I said, raw material, then refined, and that's okay. Yeah, I'm done now. I can't keep talking. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun talking about these two babies right here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye. Bye, baby. Bye, babes. You'll be in my heart. You're still here. Please leave. I'm kidding. Okay, bye, baby.